Kwame Agyapong, a man whose name was synonymous with prosperity across Accra, sat alone in his vast cantonment mansion. The marble floors gleamed, the art on the walls was priceless, but the silence was deafening. He had built an empire of construction and real estate, yet his success felt hollow. He was a king in a kingdom of one. His wealth had bought him every luxury imaginable but had failed to fill the void in his heart. His days were a monotonous cycle of meetings and solitude. A sense of yearning gnawed at him, a desire for something more than just assets and dividends. He yearned for connection, for purpose beyond profit. One afternoon, while inspecting a new building site in a bustling, less privileged neighborhood, he saw a boy, no older than 10, battering with a street food vendor. The boy, barefoot and in tattered clothes, had a fire in his eyes, a spirit that shone brighter than his circumstances. He wasn't begging, he was negotiating with a fierce, intelligent dignity. Kwame watched him, captivated. There was something in the boy's resilience, a spark that reminded him of his younger self. The boy's name was Adam, meaning grace in Twi. A sudden, powerful impulse took hold of Kwame. He felt a connection, a calling he couldn't ignore. He approached the boy, not with pity, but with respect. He spoke to him, and Adam's quick wit and wisdom belied his young age. In that brief encounter, Kwame knew what he had to do. He would take this boy under his wing, not as a charity case, but as a son. Adam was bewildered. One moment he was hustling to make enough for a meal, the next, a man in a pristine suit was offering him a new life. He was hesitant, his street-hardened instincts wary of such an unbelievable proposition. The world, he knew, gave nothing for free. Kwame saw the suspicion in his eyes and made a promise. "I am not offering you a handout, Adam," he said, his voice calm and firm. "I am offering you an opportunity. A chance to use that spirit of yours to build something incredible. I have no son to inherit my legacy. I want to give you a chance to build one of your own." The words resonated with Adam. He had dreams far bigger than the streets could contain, but no means to reach them. The promise of an education, a home, and a family was a light in the darkness he had always known. He looked into Kwame's eyes and saw not pity, but genuine admiration. He agreed. He would leave behind the only life he had ever known, the friends he had made, the constant struggle. It was a leap of faith, a gamble on a man he barely knew. But the alternative was more of the same, a slow, grinding descent. The promise of a future was too powerful to refuse. Kwame took Adam back to his mansion. The staff were shocked, the family, even more so. But Kwame was unwavering in his decision. This was the one thing his wealth couldn't buy, a purpose that money couldn't create. He was finally a father. Adam's first days in the mansion were a blur of new sensations. The soft beds, the endless supply of delicious food, the quiet. He learned to use a fork and knife, to wear clothes that weren't torn, and to speak in a way that wasn't full of street slang. His tutor was amazed by his quick mind and insatiable curiosity. Kwame watched with pride as Adam blossomed. The boy absorbed knowledge like a sponge, excelling in his studies and showing a particular knack for business and finance. He was polite, respectful, and eager to please. The rough edges of the street were being smoothed away, revealing a truly remarkable young man. Adam's presence brought life back into the silent halls of the mansion. Kwame found himself looking forward to coming home, to hearing about Adam's day at school, to discussing plans for the future. He felt a profound sense of paternal love, a feeling he never thought he would experience. Adam's gratitude was evident in every action. He worked hard, studied harder, and made sure to show Kwame his appreciation at every turn. He was everything Kwame had hoped for and more. The emptiness that had once plagued the billionaire's heart was now filled with a purpose he cherished more than his entire empire. The two of them became inseparable. Weekends were spent at the football pitch, evenings were for discussing philosophy and history. The bond between them grew stronger with each passing day. It was a perfect beginning, a fairy tale in the heart of Accra. The perfection of their life was too good to last. The first crack in the facade appeared during Adam's teenage years. He started to become defiant, questioning Kwame's authority and clashing with the staff. Small things at first, dismissed as teenage rebellion. But the incidents grew in frequency and severity. Adam began to sneak out at night, returning at dawn with no explanation. He would lie about his grades and his whereabouts. The respectful, grateful boy was slowly being replaced by a rebellious, entitled young man. Kwame was heartbroken. He tried to talk to Adam, to reason with him, to understand the source of this sudden change. But Adam would just retreat into silence or lash out in anger. The boy who had once seemed so full of light now radiated a kind of dark resentment. Kwame's niece, Oma, a shrewd and observant woman who had always viewed Adam with suspicion, took every opportunity to voice her concerns. "He's not who you think he is, uncle," she would say, her eyes narrowed. "You can't take the street out of the boy. You've given him too much, too soon." Kwame would always dismiss her, a pained expression on his face. He believed it was just a phase, that Adam would come around. He clung to the hope that the boy he had found on the streets was still in there, somewhere. Oma's triumphant discovery turned quickly into a tactical nightmare. She knew that confronting Kwame with the truth would be explosive, but she also knew that she couldn't just sit on this information. She decided to use it to her advantage, to twist the knife in the wound of his guilt. She arranged a dinner party, an intimate gathering of their closest friends and business associates. She had decided to make a show of it, a subtle but devastating performance of passive aggression. She would not expose him publicly, not yet, but she would make him suffer. The night of the dinner party, Oma was the picture of elegance, her black gown and a smile that never reached her eyes. She made a point of fawning over Kojo, praising his intelligence and his polite manners in front of their guests. "Isn't it amazing what a good home can do for a child?" she would say with a knowing look at Kwame. The words were a bitter poison, and Kwame, who had been so happy to show off his son, felt a creeping sense of unease. He was no fool, he knew that Oma was playing a game, and he was the pawn. Later that evening, in the quiet of their master bedroom, the Cold War erupted. Oma placed the file from the private investigator on the mahogany desk, its manila folder and accusation in the dim light. She watched his face as he read it, saw the color drain from his cheeks as he realized his deeper secret had been uncovered. He looked at her with a mix of fear and betrayal, and in that moment, Oma felt a profound sense of power. "He's not just a street boy, is he, Kwame?" she whispered, her voice a silk-smooth knife. "He's your son. The son you abandoned for me." Kwame didn't deny it. He couldn't. The evidence was irrefutable, and the weight of his past sin was a crushing weight on his shoulders. He felt a profound sense of regret, not for Kojo, but for the lie he had been living. The boy he had brought into his home, the child he had come to love as his own, was a constant, living reminder. The discovery of Kojo's true parentage shattered the fragile peace of the Mensah household. The opulent mansion, once a bastion of quiet elegance, became a battleground of icy stares and whispered accusations. Oma, armed with her devastating knowledge, moved through the house with a newfound arrogance, her smile a cruel mockery of her former politeness. She now saw Kojo not as a threat, but as a weapon to be used against Kwame. She would subtly undermine him, make him question his place in the family, all while maintaining her public persona as the generous wife who had welcomed a stranger into their home. Kwame, on the other hand, was tormented by his own guilt. The realization that he had unknowingly adopted his own son was a bitter irony that haunted his every waking moment. He had sought to fill the void in his heart by bringing a stranger in, only to find that he had brought in a living, breathing testament to his greatest betrayal. The love he felt for Kojo was now tinged with a profound sadness, a regret that he couldn't undo the years of neglect. He wanted to tell Kojo the truth, to ask for his forgiveness, but the fear of losing the boy's love and the shame of his past kept him silent. He was a man drowning in his own secrets. The tension in the house was palpable, a heavy fog that Kojo could feel but not comprehend. He noticed the shift in Oma's behavior, the way her fake smiles now reached her eyes, but with a cruel, knowing glint. He saw the haunted look in Kwame's eyes, the way he would look at him with a mix of adoration and profound sadness. Kojo, though intelligent, was still a boy, and he couldn't grasp the complexities of the adult world. He only knew that the easy comfort of their life together had been replaced by a suffocating, unbearable atmosphere. He felt like he was walking on eggshells, a feeling that reminded him of his old life on the streets. Oma's next move was a masterstroke of calculated cruelty. She began to subtly plant seeds. Kojo's search for his past began innocently enough. He started by asking the family chauffeur, Samuel, about the day Kwame found him. Samuel, a loyal man who had been with the family for years, was initially hesitant to speak. But Kojo's earnestness and his quiet desperation to know the truth broke through his reserve. Samuel recounted the story of the dimly lit alley, the bowl of rice, and Kwame's uncharacteristic stop. He also mentioned Kwame's strange, almost panicked reaction when Kojo revealed his mother's name to him, Adwa. It was a name that Samuel had never heard before, but the look on Kwame's face was unforgettable. Kojo, now armed with a name, began to dig deeper. He used the family's extensive resources, but not in a way that would raise suspicion. He would use the internet, a seemingly harmless act of a curious teenager. He searched for Adwa and Kwame Mensah, but the search returned nothing. He then tried different spellings, different locations, and different combinations of names. He was a young detective on a personal mission, driven by a deep-seated need to fill the void in his own history. He knew that the truth was out there, and he was determined to find it. Meanwhile, Oma was escalating her campaign. She would talk about family legacies and bloodlines in front of Kojo, making sure he knew he was an outsider. She would make snide remarks about found family and the true family, always with a pointed look at Kwame. Her public persona was that of a benevolent matriarch, but in private, she was a venomous snake, hissing and striking with subtle but lethal precision. She was enjoying her power, the way she could control the atmosphere in the house, the way she could make Kwame squirm with a single word. She was in a cruel, selfish battle for dominance. Kwame, caught in a trap of his own making, was miserable. His regret was a physical thing, a constant ache in his chest. He saw the way Oma treated Kojo, the way she made him feel like an imp. 8. The phone call with his aunt, a woman he had never met, was a revelation that turned Kojo's world upside down. The loving father, the generous benefactor, the man he had come to adore, was the same man who had broken his mother's heart and abandoned him before he was even born. The story, told to him with a quiet sorrow, was a tale of betrayal, greed, and broken promises. He was not an orphan, but a son whose father had chosen wealth over family. The love he had felt for Kwame began to curdle into a bitter, cold rage. The gilded cage he had been living in felt like a prison now. He confronted Oma first, not with anger, but with a quiet, devastating calm. He told her what he had learned, the truth about his parentage. Oma was stunned. She had expected him to discover the truth eventually, but not so quickly, not so directly. She saw the rage in his eyes and felt a flicker of fear. This was not the boy she had so easily tormented. This was a man who had just discovered a profound betrayal. She realized that she had underestimated him, and in her own selfish cruelty, had pushed him to a point of no return. The confrontation with Kwame was more painful. He found his father in his study, a glass of whiskey in his hand, a haunted look in his eyes. Kojo didn't shout or yell. He simply placed a single, faded photograph on the desk, the one of Adwa, his mother, holding him as a baby. The silence in the room was deafening. Kwame looked at the photograph, then at his son, the son he had found on the streets, and a single tear rolled down his cheek. He had been found out, and the shame was a physical weight on his shoulders. He had regretted the years of silence and neglect, but now he was forced to face the consequence of his actions. Kwame confessed everything. He told Kojo about his love for Adwa, his family's disapproval, and his choice to sacrifice love for ambition. He spoke of the guilt that had haunted him for years, the guilt that had led him to a